What's up, sports family? It's your boy Chris from Drop Balls Podcast, back again. If you're watching on YouTube, I know it's been a minute. I've been away. I still been dropping the podcast though, so if you've been listening to the podcast, thank you for the continued support. And if you're listening on the podcast right now, then I also thank you for the support. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave your boy that 5-star rating and let me know what you all like, what you all dislike, all of the above, so that way I can get better at my craft. Also, if you're listening on YouTube right now or watching on YouTube right now, go ahead and subscribe one time for your boy and ring that bell so that way when I drop a new video, you all get the notifications. Also, be sure to check out KR Athletics, King's Ransom. That is my new clothing line. This is the King's Ransom tee. It just has the King's chest piece and ransom, and it's all embroidered and everything. So be sure to check it out. I will put the link down in the description as well. And guess what? Drop Balls Podcast does have some merch coming out soon. I'm waiting to get the shipment in so I can see what everything looks like. And we'll be dropping the merch here soon. But yeah, man, I just came on today to give you all, it's gonna be a quick little episode, but to give you all my top 10 running backs going into the 2021 season, as well as list off some running backs who I believe you all should look forward to seeing the next season. They're not going to be on my top 10 list because they didn't make it, but they're runner-ups, and I think they're still going to have pretty good seasons, and to look forward to their seasons coming up, depending on any health setbacks or anything like that. But I think they'll still have some pretty good seasons. But without further ado, let's get to this top 10 list going into the 2021 season. And number one on my list is Derrick Henry, none other than King Henry himself. A lot of people think that he's going to have some setbacks next year or he's going to take a step back next year. I think it's the opposite. The Tennessee Titans have done a very good job on easing Derrick Henry into that main guy role, especially his first, I believe it's 3 years in the season or in his career. He didn't get a lot of touches. He probably got like 100 touches. I think the third season it was like 200, and then it's been going up ever since. Even in college, it was the same way with him. In college, he didn't really get a lot of touches until his last season. So they've done a very good job of easing him into that feature back role. So he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires. Besides high school, we all know his high school stats, but besides high school, that's where most of his tread comes from. But with the addition to Julio Jones to that offense, I believe it is going to be very beneficial for Derrick Henry going forward, and I think he's going to show that next season. With Julio Jones coming in, they can no longer stack the box. And if they choose to, then Ryan Tannehill can just dissect them by throwing to his receiving core. They have Julio, Josh Reynolds, and A.J. Brown. And all three of those receivers can play anywhere on the field. So with that addition, like I said, you can no longer stack the box unless you're going to play one-on-one with Julio, Josh Reynolds, and A.J. Brown, which I don't think you should. But that leaves Derrick Henry to have a major season. Now, either way it goes, I think he has either 1,700 yards rushing and 300 yards receiving, or he's just going to have 2,000 yards on the ground and whatever he gets in the receiving game. But either way, he will amass 2,000 yards again. I personally think that it's going to be 2,000 on the ground again, and he'll have back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. Now, number two on my list is the person that a lot of people say is number one, but I just can't put him at number one over Derrick Henry, and that's Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook's an amazing running back, and he's going to have an amazing season in 2021, barring any health setbacks. But the thing with Dalvin Cook, he had 1,500 yards last season, so he's not bad. But he brings a lot in the receiving game, and he brings a lot on the ground. 1,500 yards rushing, that's not bad. And I believe maybe like 500 yards or something like that receiving, so that's not bad either. So he brings a lot to the game. His biggest issue is durability. If he can stay healthy, then maybe he can amass Derrick Henry as the number one back in the NFL heading into any season. Number three on the list, I got to give respect to Nick Chubb. He's been able to do a lot for the Cleveland Browns, and he's been a catalyst of that offense. And that offense is going to go as far as he takes them. A lot of people think Baker Mayfield is the catalyst, but I just don't see it. Even with Odell Beckham, Juice, and all the receivers they have, I think Nick Chubb is going to be the one that carries that offense, and he has to continue to carry the offense, even with splitting carries splitting carries with Kareem Hunt. So we'll see what happens this season, but I think he's going to have a big year, even if he has to split carries with Kareem Hunt, who is also a dynamic running back. Number 4 on my list is none other than Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints. I think he's due for a breakout year. Now, he hasn't had an 1,000-yard rushing season yet, but the Saints have also done a good job with gradually moving him into that feature running back role. And this year, I think he finally amassed his 1,000 yards. I think last year he had like 900 and what is it? Give me a second. 932 yards on the ground. But hold on, my computer tripping. But he had 700 yards through the receiving. So I think this year he finally amasses 1,000 yards. I think he probably is going to put up 1,500 on the ground and about 700 through the in the receiving game, or anywhere between 400 to 700 in the receiving game. But either way, he's going to amass. He's going to have a good season. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Kamara's going to have a really good season. I think he breaks 1,000 yards this year on the ground. Next up is number 5, Ezekiel Elliott. Now, many people might think Zeke has, fallen from grace. But I think Zeke just got complacent when he got that big contract, and that led to some of his downfall in the recent years. Also, with the offensive line being hurt last year and hopefully coming back healthy this season, I think Zeke returns back to dominance in 2021. Now, will he be – I think he'll be top 5 for sure. But will he be in that conversation for number 1 with Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook? I don't know. But I think he does return back to dominance this season for the Dallas Cowboys, especially with Dak coming back and the receivers that they have on that football team. I think Zeke will pick it back up. Last year, Zeke had 979 yards rushing, so he wasn't too far from 1,000, but his conditioning was bad. If you watched any of the Dallas Cowboys games, his conditioning was bad. He would run like 5 yards and then ask for a breather. Run for 10 yards, ask for a breather. So, once he gets his conditioning back, which they say he looks like he's in the best shape of his career, so we're going to see what happens moving forward with Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys. Number 6, I got to give it to Aaron Jones. I believe Aaron Jones is going to be a catalyst for that offense, him and A.J. Dillon, especially if no Aaron Rodgers is in a Green Bay uniform. I believe Aaron Jones will be the featured back. A.J. Dillon will come in and get some reps as well, but Aaron Jones is going to go off. I believe that last year he had over 1,000 yards. He had 1,000 or 1,100 yards on the ground. I think he goes for about 13, 14, 1,500 this season with the addition of the 17th game. So we all know that they added another game this season. So with the addition of the 17th game, I believe that Aaron Jones is going to go out there and do his thing. Number 7 on the list is CMC. Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how he returns after the injury he had last year. I believe it was just an ankle injury, but I don't know how he's going to return. He played, I believe, only 3 games last season, so we'll see how he returns. If he can return back to 2019 form, then he can definitely push for that number 1 running back spot, or push to get back into the top 5. But I believe Christian McCaffrey will have a good season heading into 2021, just barring any setbacks from the injury. He has been fairly healthy. He has been actually very healthy his career. His first year in the league, he played all 16 games, only started, I believe, in 10. Second year, he started all 16. Third year, started all 16. So he's been very healthy his whole career, especially with all the stuff that they ask him to do. But with that, being the featured back and everything they've asked him to do, that could be the cause for the injury and the eventual wear and tear on his body, which I hope that's not what happens, but I hope he comes back stronger than ever. Then number 8, we have Saquon Barkley. We all know he only played 2 games last year towards ACL and missed the rest of the season. But I think he's going to have a big year next year, come back stronger than ever. Receiving game has gotten a little bit better. We're going to see how that offense goes with Daniel Jones and see if he can actually up his game up a little bit. But if he can, then I believe Saquon will be the beneficiary of a good receiving game, and I believe he'll have a top 10 year next season in 2021. Also, torn ACL. I mean, if you watch any of his workout videos, dude is working out harder than ever. And his legs ain't missed a beat. Like his legs still big as hell. So I think we'll get a good season out of Saquon. Now over his career he hasn't been the healthiest. I believe first year he played all 16, then the last year he played 13, and then last season, the 2020 season, he only played 2 games. And he had like 12 carries for 39 yards, so he wasn't really doing too hot. But I think he'll come back better than what we saw last year. Then we got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is another one who I think is going to benefit from a good receiving core with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Auden Tate, and what's the other guy's name? I can't think of it right now. Give me a second. Let me see. Joe Mixon. Give me a second, y'all, so I can get dude's name. It's Tyler Boyd. That's right, Tyler Boyd. So with that receiving core, I think Joe Mixon stands to have a good year in 2021. This will be his 5th year in the league. Last year only had 428 yards on 119 carries, but he only played 6 games. So I think he progresses, and I think barring any setback from the injury, he's gonna be good this year. And then number 10 on my list is none other than Josh Jacobs. Now, I don't really have much faith in the Las Vegas Raiders, but one person I do have faith in and I believe will help that offense a lot this coming season is Josh Jacobs. I think they'll be able to play a lot off of the play action. Josh Jacobs had 1,000 yards last year. He's been consistent. His first year in the league, he had 1,000 yards. I believe it's like 1150. Second year, 1065. So he's been very consistent. Averaged 4.8 yards his first year, 3.9 his last season. But I think once they get him going, they'll be able to play off that play action and get that offense going in the right direction. But I think he's going to have a good season this year, top 10 season in the league. He's one of the only running backs to run for 1,000 yards this season. So I mean, I think he's going to be very good going forward for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, some people who didn't make my list, but I think are going to do very well next year, barring any setbacks from injuries. I know I keep saying that, but injuries are a thing in this game. And so as long as they don't get injured, I think they'll have great seasons. I don't think they'll be top 10 seasons, but I think they're going to be very good seasons for these running backs. So Chris Carson is one of them because Chris Carson could be a top 10 back in this league, but every year he gets injured. Chris Carson has that type of talent, though, to be a top 10 running back. If you just look at any of his stats and look at what he brings to the game, he's a legit running back. He just can't stay healthy for the Seattle Seahawks. But I think if he stays healthy, he will get into that conversation. Then you have Austin Eckler. He missed a lot of time last year. I believe he only played 10 games last season. But what he brings to the running game and what he brings to the receiving game is up there with Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Like, he brings a lot to that game, a lot to the LA Chargers. Last year, he didn't do too much. Like I said, he only played 10 games, but he had about 500 rushing yards and some receiving yards. And then the 2019 season, he had also 500 rushing yards, but he had like 993 receiving yards. So I think once he comes back and he's healthy, then we're going to see a lot of what we saw in 2019 from him, and he's going to help the LA Chargers let's get to the playoffs next year. I think they reached the playoffs in 2021, but he'll be one of the catalysts to help that. Then you have Antonio Gibson, the running back from the Washington football team. He was a rookie last year, had about 700 rushing yards, and I think only maybe like 100 to 200 receiving yards or something. He was a receiver in college, and they turned him into a running back, and he's not small. He's about 6'2", 220 pounds. But if you watch his game, and now he has a consistent quarterback as well. So I think he's going to add more to that receiving game out the backfield, and he's going to see a lot of touches next year. But like I said, if you look at his game and if you watch him specifically during the Washington football team's games, and just watch him when he gets the ball, when he touches the ball, and look at his footwork in the backfield, is unmatched. I think he has some of the best footwork in the game at the running back position. Now he's a receiver turned running back. So as a receiver, you work on your footwork a lot. and being able to get back there in the backfield and do what he does, he's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a stud. So keep your eye on Antonio Gibson next season. Also, you want to keep your eye on David Montgomery. It was his second year last year. Finally got over 1,000 yards for the Chicago Bears. Keep your eye on him. He can do it all. He can catch out the backfield. He can run the ball. And I think Chicago finally sees what they got in him, and they're going to use him a lot more than what they did over 2019 and 2020. I believe he's going to be the future back, and he's going to do a lot for that team, especially helping out Justin Fields. I believe they have a good combo with Justin Fields and David Montgomery, and then also the receiving core that they have, especially with Allen Robinson as long as he stays there. But I think that's going to be a good little trio for the Chicago Bears. Then you have who else was on my list? Also, I want you to watch out for Javonte Williams. He plays for the Denver Broncos. Now he's a rookie out of UNC, but he was electric at UNC. Him and Michael Carter, they were both electric at UNC. Both put up over 200 yards rushing on my Miami Hurricanes the last game of the season. But I think he's going to do big things for the Denver Broncos, and I think he's going to wrestle that starting spot from Melvin Gordon. Now, he may start off during the season getting about 65% of the carries, I think. But I think he's going to ultimately take the workload from Melvin Gordon. Actually, yeah, during the season, he's going to get up to about 65% of the carries. I think that's what's going to happen. And he's going to get majority of the workload. So look out for Javonte Williams. I think that's really all of the running backs that I had that I want y'all to keep an eye on going into next season. But specifically Chris Carson, I really think Chris Carson could have a good, could be a top 10 running back. So keep an eye on him. Oh, yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I had to put a quote up there. I had to. Keep your eye on Jonathan Taylor. He's another back that can do it all. He can run. He can catch. He can do whatever you ask from him. He amassed 1,000 yards his rookie season with the Indianapolis Colts. That offensive line is one of the best in the league, and I think he's gonna break that again. May put up about 1,200, 1,300 yards this season. What he had last year, he had 1,169. So yeah, he's easily gonna get about 1,200 this year. Think he could get up to 13 to 14. But that's all I have for you all, man. So hope you all enjoyed. Leave your comments down below if you're watching on YouTube. Let me know what you all thought. Go follow your boy on Twitter at DropBallsPod. The link is down in the description. And until next time, y'all be easy. Peace.